Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and this is Patron Hangout number 216. Welcome, everybody who is in the chat room. I'm glad to see you here because if you're part of Patreon, you know that the messaging system went down last week. It went down, I think, on Thursday night, and none of you got my messages for the show on Saturday. And on Saturday, I threw a party at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. No one came. It was so sad. I was sitting there and I'm down like 20 minutes in, then 10 minutes, and then 5 minutes, and nobody came. And it was down to 30 seconds. Nobody was there. So I'm like, everybody hates me now. There's something really wrong. So the messaging system was down on Patreon. It just came back last night. I did contact them. They did work on it, thank God. And it seems like it's worked because people are here in the chat room. So that's pretty cool. And if you're new to the channel and you'd like to be in the chat room, please do click on the link below for Patreon. And if you join up, it's $5 a month. And there are 8 live shows, which are, for the most part, patron only. Occasionally I do a public one like I did on Sunday because none of my patrons could even get a message that I was doing the show. So I moved it from Saturday to Sunday and it just went public with it. But this educational channel can use the support, so it's always appreciated. But if you don't want to do that, that's fine. Please do subscribe to the channel. That makes a difference. And check my playlist for all the different areas in which the cases that I cover. So check it out. All right, now, now in order to see what you've written, you're going to have to see me do this. Oh, hi there. How are you? Well, half blind, better than whatever. In case you're wondering why I'm saying that, I had cataract surgery on Monday on the left eye. This is the left eye. And I will say this, it's amazing. If I do this and cover my right eye, oh my gosh, yes, I can see distance now. It's almost 20/20, or it is 20/20, and the colors are back. It's bright. I never realized how dull my world had gotten with cataracts. But I was like, oh, there's a blue sky. I thought it was overcast, So this eye is fixed and it's going great. This eye, wait a minute. This eye is still what it was. So it's blurry in the distance. But the weird part is this eye, I can read my phone. But with the good eye, now I can't because now I need reading glasses for the good eye. So I have one eye doing one thing and one eye doing the other. So that's why it makes everything hard to even focus on. So next Monday when I get this eye done, then they'll both be distance and then I will return to using reading glasses. But right now, it's just bizarre. So, but I'm here and if I read, I can go like this and read what you've written. And then if I want to read over here, I'm putting on my old $35 glasses from I get them off Amazon. These are trifocals, and this actually works. And I can see this well enough to be able to read the laptop, the iPad, so I can do the show. So that's how it works. So I'm going to see what you're saying. Okay, see, I have to lean in. Yes, thank you very much. I'm glad it went well too, because I really needed it to go well. So I'm just looking back on some of your comments. Anyway, or maybe I shouldn't because I can't see anything. I may tell you, it's a weird situation, but it's not going to last that much longer. They'll fix the other eye, and then in a couple weeks past that, I should get my new glasses prescription, and then I will be in good shape. I'll be able to see everything around me, and then I'll be able to just have good reading glasses. I'll get trifocals again because I need to be able to see my phone and the iPad and the person over there. So I love trifocals. So I will be getting a multifocal lens. So that's where I'm at. Meanwhile, you always ask about the cat. Yeah, there he is. Came in last night and I have his food next to me. So I'm sure he'll show up. That's the feral cat named Mac. He's doing fine. He's just being just as unconcerned about me as ever. And this, by the way, somebody said they made these eyeballs to take to the office for Halloween. I'm kind of thinking maybe Ed Gein was involved in this because I'm not sure those are eyeballs. look a little off to me. That's terrible. I also hear the new Ed Gein show. The Ed Gein Netflix thing is supposed to be terrible, and it didn't appeal to me, so I haven't watched. So, have anybody seen the Ed Gein thing? Just so you can give your opinion. Oh, aren't you? I love that. What it says. I love Mac. Well, he's I don't know how lovable he is, but he's still coming around and eating my food and giving me the stink eye and leaving. So there you go. So nobody saw Ed Gein thing. I'm curious because as I did the last show I just did was on the Monster of Florence, and that was the new Netflix series, which was so dreadful, absolutely dreadful. I tortured myself through the first video, and then I went back the next day just to give it a second chance on the second round, and I quit after 10 minutes. It was horrible. But watch my show. My show was great. The Monster of Florence. Do you do anything special for Halloween? No. I'm too lazy. When my kids were growing up, we did a fairy tale house every Halloween, and the kids from the neighborhood, we had hundreds of kids from the neighborhood come. Because we had a 250-year-old house, so it was creepy to a lot of kids anyway. And then we did a fairy tale every year. So we did The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and then we did Rapunzel, and whatever one we could come up with. And I made my kids help me put it together with only cheap crap. In other words, I wasn't going to go out and spend hundreds of dollars buying fancy stuff. So we used plastic bags, we used construction paper, we used sprays. But we decorated we decorated all the different rooms downstairs, and sometimes Rapunzel was up, her hair was coming down the stairs. So people loved it. It really was wonderful. And and after my kids grew up, I'm like, yeah, I'm done, So my granddaughter next door is my daughter's daughter. It's up to her. I don't deal with it. So I'm moving in to see. Oh, you got through 2 episodes of which one? Of the monster or Gein? Which one? Watch a documentary on his mother was awful. Well, I guess turned out to be kind of a crappy dude. So you're the token man. I don't know. You are, Christoph. Not always, but there is an interesting thing about crime that obviously. It seems that women are far more interested in crime than men, for the most part, as far as learning about it. And I always hope to reach detectives. And when I start the other channel, which will be my profiling school channel for detectives, I hope they will show up there. We'll see. But you sound like a wonderful mama. Well, don't ask any of the kids. They might disagree. I'm going to go there, TKM. I'm going to let people read that for themselves. That is grotesque. But the other weird thing was I was doing these color studies. I do pastel art. So we were in the class I'm taking, we had to do these color studies of something and different methodologies of using different color groups. And, I'm like, I realized that I didn't really see the colors very well when I did it. And then I became worried that the work I've already done, maybe when I look at which is a good eye? Wait a minute. When I look with a good eye, I'm like, oh my God, is this still good? Anyway, but that's what I was working on. This is what I'm working on now. This is bright color. I'm working on this right now. This is supposed to be colors next to each other on the color wheel. This is just the beginning of it. This is colors that aren't normal. Obviously, you don't have purple skies and the red there, but this is supposed to be an experiment in unusual color. So we'll see how that turns out. I'll let you know when I finish it. Maybe when I get the other eye going, I'll finish it. So, and the other thing I'll show you, and then I'll go on to the regular stuff. This is a photo I took the other day. Speaking of Halloween, my daughter had this huge bonfire party and fireworks. No, she didn't have fireworks because those would be illegal in Maryland. Anyway, it wasn't her. And so it was a huge bonfire, and I took this picture, and I call it the apocalypse. Does that not look like the apocalypse? I love this picture. It's like one of those photos you take, you go, that is the coolest thing ever. Anyway, all right. So I'm going to check your comments and we'll go on to, this is so fun. You like my art? Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, I really enjoy doing pastels. And the reason I sometimes show these things along with animals and family stuff is because too many people who get involved with true crime and people who work in the field, if you work as a detective or you're a forensic examiner or whatever you are, your world can be very dark too much of the time. A profiler, people say, you're a profiler, how do you handle all the stuff you do? I'm like, well, for all of my life, even when I was working full-time as a criminal profiler, working in police departments and different things going around, talking with families, I always made sure I balanced my life out with brighter things, whether it be family, friends, travel, art, anything, music. Balance life out, because even if life has some dark areas to it, which it always does, there's also beauty. So don't just go, if you're just on one side, you're going to depress the hell out of yourself and end up on antidepressants. You want to make sure that you put beauty into your life by helping people, doing whatever kind of things will make your life, bring you some joy in your life, have you see the good stuff. And that's why I always introduce those things in the beginning of my shows. So, thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right. That pic looks like something from a video game or disaster movie. It does. I mean, that's why I call it the apocalypse. I'm like, and I think Annie was the one she sent me a little message. She goes, well, you made it through, didn't you? You took the picture. I'm like, yeah, still here. So, oh, what? Oh, serious? No. Are you kidding me? You got 2 emails instead of 1 email. Are we back to that again? Nothing. Seriously. We've had problems with messaging, and we had that problem for a long time with everybody getting 2 emails of each email I sent, and then we got no emails, and now we're back to 2 emails. Oh, make me cry. All right. This is wonderful. I like this, Anna. Do one thing every day that gives you an hour of joy. At least. You got to balance life. You do. You have to balance life. And sorry, my eye is itching. I got to put eye drops in. Anyway. So anyway, all right. Let's get to what you're here for. All right. So let's start with, this is just a funny story. Now I got to put my glasses on to read it. Get my $35 glasses. And I had to put down all the lights because they reflect really badly in these really cheap glasses. So anyway, Maryland man from my neighborhood accused of impersonating officer, driving car with guns and flashing lights. And a Prince George's County man was arrested for impersonating a law enforcement officer after police found items like handcuffs and guns during a traffic stop. About 9:50 at night, they pulled over a black Chevy Tahoe driven by 38-year-old Jonathan Davis. Yes, you, Jonathan Davis, during a traffic stop. You're a creepy dude. Between Laurel Bowie Road and Montpelier Drive in Laurel, Maryland. During the traffic stop, they discovered several items in his car that indicated he was impersonating an officer. They found, the reason I think this is amusing is, look what this is, they found this. Do you think this man might be a problem? I mean, my God almighty. Oh, no, I have to do this. I love your glasses. Well, for $35, they're big, but I like my regular glasses better. And when my surgery is completely finished and I get my eyes checked, then I will get my multifocal glasses in the ones I have now, and they won't reflect as much as they're doing. I've turned off a lot of lights here and the screen is dark, so I could not have massive reflections in my glasses. But for $35, if you need a pair of reading glasses, first you got to go to CVS or whatever pharmacy is left in your neighborhood, because Rite Aid, I think, is down in a lot of places. You go in there and they have these trifocals. And what you do is you try them on and you look at your phone. And if you can read it, that's the bottom part. If it's correct for reading the bottom part, then it'll be correct for the next level will be your computer, and the top will be blank, so you can look around. And you just find the one that matches looking at your phone. You buy it for $35. Once I found mine, I just ordered them off of Amazon. But now that I have really cool, nice glasses that aren't quite so bulky, I will replace since I have the frames, I'll replace them with professional. But these do pretty good. So, except I got to do this right here. That is an arsenal. If it's not Halloween role play, it's very concerning. You bet. That's a lot of stuff. I don't know what they're going to do with this guy. I'm curious to see whether they're going to put him away for a really long time. But a lot of that stuff was illegal. And he had ghost guns too. So it's a creepy dude, man. Creepy dude. All right. Let's talk about, hold on. Let me find my fit. Oh, God. The glasses thing is so interesting. Really difficult. Hold on. Where are you, dude? Okay. I want to read the daily. Now I got to do this. Hold on. Where's the Daily? Oh, okay. The Daily Mail. It's kind of funny, actually. The Daily Mail, which a lot of people call the Daily Fail if you're from the UK. And I have done some interviews in the past with Daily Mail. They're kind of like the National Enquirer in the US. And I will say this for both the National Enquirer and the Daily Mail. Those are the two best sources for crime news you will ever get. I know it makes no sense and you think, what the? But it's actually true. The Daily Mail somehow shows up on the scene in the US, which is the UK, but they're in the US. And in this case, they're in Australia. Somehow they show up everywhere before everybody else does. I don't know how they do it, but they get more details than any other news channel. And so I do, in spite of my feelings about them, check on the Daily Mail whenever I want as many details as I can get on a crime. Just the way it is. Anyway, so the Daily Mail did this thing about Gus Lamont. So it starts out with the grandmother of Gus Lamont, a missing boy, Gus Lamont. This is in Australia. Gus is this little 4-year-old boy. Here he is, 4 years old, went missing on the outback. And she showed up and waved a pump-action shotgun at the Daily Mail reporter who inquired about the ongoing search for her grandson. She is. She's pissed. In case you're wondering, she's a trans granny. But anyway, he has two grandmothers, one who used to be a grandfather but is now a grandmother. Anyway, but she showed up with a gun and was pissed off at the Daily Mail. And I'm not going to say she's wrong. I might be pissed off too. So anyway, right now they're doing a new search because they have not found this poor child. And the child is, hold on a second, let me find out when he went missing here. I want to go back in time here a little bit. So I'm trying to read, but give me it's been 1 month now. Monday marked 1 month since he vanished from his grandparents' remote Oak Park sheep station, about 43 kilometers south of Junta. Okay, so he's living with his grandmothers, and his mother was there too. His father is building a house that eventually he was hoping his family would live in. Very confusing family situation. A whole bunch of very unusual characters. That's all I'm going to say about them. Unusual characters. Supposedly, when he went missing, he was outside playing in the sand, you see. So one of the grandmothers, the one that was always a grandmother, was inside the home. Sorry. Couldn't help myself. Sorry. Anyway, the one that was always a grandmother was inside the house with his sibling, taking care of, I think, a younger sibling taking care of the baby. And he was outside playing here in the sand. His other grandmother, the one with the gun, and his mother supposedly were about 10 kilometers away, I think it was, taking care of sheep, looking for a missing sheep. So they were worried about a missing sheep. That's the story anyway. So in theory, in theory, if everything is to be believed, he was one of the grandmothers and the mother were away, and the other grandmother was taking care of the child, the younger one. And Gus was outside playing in the sand. And then when the grandmother inside the house went out to look for him, he was not there. And now a month has gone by and they haven't found him anywhere. Now, if you remember the case up in Nova Scotia where the 2 children went missing out of the house, and they haven't found those children either. There's a big difference between these 2 cases, and I want you to profile right now. And I'm not saying when you're doing this, when you're analyzing stuff, it doesn't mean you've come to a conclusion. It doesn't mean there are not other answers. But this thing just struck me, and I want you to tell me what the difference between the Nova Scotia children going missing might be compared to Gus Lamont going missing. Now, this is where he was outside playing. This is where they lived, and that's their compound essentially. And this is it at another distance. Okay, look from overhead. Okay, now I want to go to your comments and see if I can see them. Okay. It's a good point. The missing sheep may be related. I'm an Australian, but I live on the East Coast where there are wild dogs. Yeah, the wild dog issue. Okay, so we all know the stories about the dingo dog. Right, the dingo ate my baby, and it turned out the dingo did eat the baby. And then there was another dingo case where that dingo just like jumped up and grabbed this boy right up. I think it was. I'm sure they were like camping and tried to drag the boy away. So the dingoes can be very dangerous. This is true. So perfectly reasonable to think that. And one of the things you want to do is look at all the possibilities. The terrain is very different. Oh, wait a minute. Wait. I'm sorry. Amanda says the terrain is very different. In Nova Scotia, there's dense woodland surrounding the home. Okay. The parents are, well, definitely up in Nova Scotia, we have some very suspicious statements. That's why I personally have trouble believing that the children wandered off because of the suspicious statements of the parents. However, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the terrain for sure. Well, that story has changed. I heard it was hours, and then I heard it was half an hour. So tetrafin is one of these things. I don't know who's telling the truth. Anna says, the clear landscape around the home in this case, you'd see an abduction. Nobody thinks in this case there was an abduction of Gus Lamont because they're so isolated that somebody would literally have to say, I think I'm going to roll down to that sheep farm and go down to the compound, and I'm going to get lucky, and a little boy's going to be outside playing in the sand. I'm going to grab him and then turn around and take off. Nobody thinks that happened. So Gus could have injured or killed himself in the buildings. They've never found his body, so I don't think that's happened. They would be seen in open areas, you'd think, but there are times when you can fall into a hole too remote for an abduction, yes. But nobody's coming up with the thing that bothers me the most. Hold on, I'm trying to read your I'm trying to read what you said. It's a little weird. It's like such a weird hangout because I can't keep doing that. It's really hard to disappear from here, but I want you to look at it from a different perspective. This is what I'm trying to get to, just because I think it's fascinating to me. Again, put yourself in the mind of Gus. Okay, Gus is out there. One of the claims they said was maybe he went to look for his mummy. Okay, because she wasn't home. One grandmother was home, but his mom was away with the other grandmother, right? So maybe he missed his mom. So he's looking for mom. Although you would think when you leave, you would say, Gus, we're going to look for the sheep that's missing, and he would know his mom wasn't around. But okay, let's say for some reason he's looking for his mom. And there he is outside playing, and suddenly he decides, I want to find my mom. Okay. What problem do you see here? Please, somebody come up with this, because I just think it's fascinating. Not talking about abduction. I'm talking about from Gus's point of view, because nobody believes there's an abduction. He either wandered off or something happened to him. Two choices. How is it different, in theory, from the Nova Scotia kids? Even though I'm suspicious of the Nova Scotia kids' parents, what's the difference between the Nova Scotia kids going off into the woods, heavily wooded area, and Gus going off across the outback? What's the difference? Well, that's true. They found one footprint. Probably not, but that's not the point. Look at it from Gus's point of view. Nobody's seeing this but me. Visibility. Oh, okay. We're getting close to what I'm talking about. What is he able to see if he wanders away from the location? That he's outside playing in the sand and he wanders a little far away. What is in his sight range? No, maybe his mother was 10 kilometers away. He wasn't going to see his mother. That's not it. How would he get lost is my question. How? A road? No. What is the one thing Gus can see? And maybe he's 4 years old. We're not talking about a kid who's going to put a sack on his back and roll out for 10 kilometers. We're talking about a little 4-year-old child who's going to wander away a little bit. Thank you, Beagle. He would be able to see his home. You bet. The Nova Scotia kids, in theory, if they wandered into the woods chasing something, they could turn around and have freaking no clue where their house was. They would see woods everywhere, and they would go a direction. They could keep getting more and more and more lost. How the heck? Look at where he's at. For God's, look at this. Every place he walks, it's look at the land. There's not even big trees. I mean, pretty much you can see very far in the distance. Look how far you can see. What is the one thing? What is the one thing you can probably see, if nothing else? What can you see? What can you see if absolutely nothing else? You could see home. Exactly. This bothers me. It's so flat, it's so open that you can see home. So if you walked a distance and you went, I don't know, I can't find my mommy, you could turn around and see your home. The Nova Scotia kids theoretically could have gotten lost in those woods. I don't understand how Gus, 4 years old, is going that far that he can't turn around and see home and then stagger back to home. I mean, in theory, could he not have done that? But it's so flat. There's nothing there that I even think he could fall into. Now they're checking out this water area, and they're draining it now because they didn't find him there when they did scuba diving or whatever. But how the hell did you get that? I don't even see where it is. So weird. There's a whole nother story about the Nova Scotia kids. Yeah, definitely. Yes, buildings are on site. That's one of the interesting things. A lot of times when I've done work on cases, what I love to do is go to location, because when you go to location, everything changes. Now, I haven't been there. I could be full of crap. If I went out there, which I'd love to do, if I only got a reasonable flight price to Australia, I would love to see exactly how far you can see and what a 4-year-old child would see. If he's staggering off, or even whatever a 4-year-old would go and look and say, I don't know where mom is, and then turn around and see home, because that's the only thing on the horizon. I would like to see that. Now, I have worked on cases where I thought things were a certain way, and when I went to location, I'm like, holy crap. My favorite one is I was checking out a case where a woman was murdered. Her vehicle was stolen, was left at a local shopping mall. And it was right next to a little park. And on the other side of the little green park on the map was a serial killer. A guy with a serial killer suspect. Let's put it that way. And I'm like, oh my God, serial killer kills her, drives the car there, walks through the park. So I went there. That wasn't no park. That was, well, it was a green area. It was listed as a sort of park area. It had so many ravines in it. I tried to cross over to the guy's house. I was so stuck in those ravines, I couldn't even get out. I'm like, there's no way the guy parked here to walk home. And if I hadn't been there in person, I would have thought he was such a good suspect. Turned out he wasn't a good suspect, even though he was in the area. So when you actually go to a location, you can learn a lot, and that's important for any detective profiler or whatever. Tough investigation. Well, all investigation is pretty tough. Besides, there are no child abductors running around out there in the middle of nowhere. Again, we're looking at two possibilities in both cases. The child or children wandered off and met just an unfortunate end, and they just haven't found their bodies yet. Because little bodies go in little places, and sometimes you can't find them forever until somebody trips over them. A hiker, hunter, somebody just trips over them and finds the body 10 years later. They either wandered off or something happened to them that would have to do with no, more technical problems. I can't. Technical problems. Can y'all see me? It would be very hot out there, for sure. Can you all see me? Just checking, because I froze. I don't think it's my eyes. I think that's technical difficulties again, because I've been having a whole bunch of them. Somebody say you can see me. Yes. Yes. No, I'm freezing again. Oh, you know what I did? Oh, I froze. Okay. Can you see me? You can see me. I now know what I did. I forgot to take off the internet, the Wi-Fi off of this before I started. You would think that. All right. It's glitching. I would fix it now. I can remove the Wi-Fi, but the last time I tried to remove the Wi-Fi in the middle of a show, it completely shot the show down. So now I'm screwed. So anyway, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how we would get lost and not just be laying there on the ground. All right, so let's go on, and hopefully we won't have more glitches. I forgot to take the Wi-Fi off. You have plug-in, you have Wi-Fi. I always keep the Wi-Fi on before I start the show, because sometimes if I move the computer, then the thing pulls out, and I'll lose everything I've set up. So I usually keep the Wi-Fi on until before the show. But the cleaning ladies were here, and it was very noisy, and that's my excuse. I forgot to take it off, which I usually am pretty good at. Okay, let's move on. Okay, next thing. Oh, I want to mention this. All right, the Ellen Greenberg case. One of your wonderful people told me about Derick Levasseur, and his channel. It's called his channel is called. Where is it? Oh yeah, where is it? What's the name of his channel? Yeah, Detective Perspective. All right, Derick is one of the people right now I tend to promote. I'm very cautious about promoting channels where I feel that we have non-professionals who may be good at storytelling, but are then giving analysis, which they have no ability to do. And they mislead them. I am glitching. Mislead people all over the place. And I don't like that, because for some reason people want to believe people who are not professionals. And I'm like, don't do that. They're storytellers. If it's a 23-year-old girl sitting on her bed with some candles, stop believing what she says. And a lot of times they simply plagiarize. They go to a channel like mine or Derick's channel or Deception Detective, and they just simply plagiarize. And then people think, oh my God, they're so smart. No, they're not. They plagiarized. So I like to lead people to channels that at least are professional, that analyze cases and give their explanations for their conclusions. And I like Deception Detective because he analyzes, he does statement analysis, but he explains it, which I appreciate. Ken Maines, who I'm not fond of, just because he insulted me and called me a crazy old grandma. And I don't like him hooking up with psychopathic killers and making movies with them. And now that psychopathic killer has a book. But anyway, I'll get into that another time. But I still recommend a show for the purpose that he was a detective and he explains his conclusions. I don't always agree with them, and he doesn't always agree with mine, clearly. But I at least like people to be able to get differing opinions as long as somebody explains where their opinion comes from. And Derick Levasseur, I'm pretty impressed with him because he does the same thing. He explains he gives his analysis and explains his conclusions. So that's what I want to see when you go to any channel. And if you want to hear storytelling, fine. Hear this. Some people are really good storytellers, and I have sometimes even said, listen to this person. I think last week I did Zoe on the case. I haven't. It's in the last video. She did the case of the guy who got killed in the Philippines. And I really appreciated her storytelling because she also gave a lot of information, which I couldn't find elsewhere. So I linked her as a very good storyteller and giving information to the public. She didn't bother to analyze the case, which I appreciated because she's not a professional detective or profile. I thought she did a fine job in what she did. So I like those kind of people too. So I have my favorites. Oh, I think, oh, you're really good at that. But for professionals, I just want you to understand that there's a difference between a storytelling person and a professional. So if you're going to try to understand analyses of cases, at least there it goes. I'm frozen again. Oh, this is interesting. This is happening a lot now. I wonder if I'm afraid to get rid of that because I'm afraid it'll just block everything. So it sucks. I wonder if I can do that, and I wonder if it'll disappear. Hold on, I'm going to try it. Oh, I can't even come up with anything. There might be a part 2 if this screws up, it'll be a part 2. Ready? Get set. Seriously. Wow. And I don't know if you can all hear me, but I'm missing in action. I tried to fix it, and it just went south. Okay, so you can hear me, but you can't see me, right? You can't see me. Oh my God. Oh, Lord. This is so annoying. You can't see me. Well, the audio is great, but I can't get my face back in. This is the problem I've been having over and over again, and I don't know how to fix it. I'm with audio only. Well, with audio only. I have the camera on, and the camera is simply just not working. It's so bizarre. Camera. Yeah, here it is. My camera's on, and it is completely non-existent. It's black now. Yeah. That's what I've been dealing with, and I actually changed browsers in order to be able to have you see me. But wow, I don't even know how to fix it. Why is it audio only? That's so weird. Okay, then. Come on, camera, come back. Why isn't it? Finally, the camera comes back. Hello, am I here? Can you see me? Okay. Oh, there you are. Okay. I don't know. I have no idea how to fix any of this. I've been fighting with it for days, where my camera everything just blacks out. It's weird. I have the camera on, no, everything normal as ever, but as soon as I put myself into link myself into the show, it blacks out. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how to fix some of this stuff either, because, when it happens, you don't know if it's your browser, you don't know if it's your computer, you don't know if it's StreamYard, you just don't know. And so you're screwed, which seems to be my life in the last few weeks. Anyway, let's move on. All right. I want to talk about Diddy just for a second, because I know nobody likes him and I'm not fond of him either, but I want to point out what Diddy is trying to get out of prison early, because why wouldn't he, right? So he's trying to get out, and he's saying, he's like, could you let me out early, because let's see what he says. It's kind of stupid. So he says, in a letter to the judge before he was, wait a minute, I gotta find it. Before he was sentenced, Combs said he has gone through a spiritual reset in jail, of course, as they all do, because he's not having any freakouts in the jail, you know what I mean? And was, quote, committed to the journey of remaining a drug-free, because he can't get drugs in jail, did he? You should be able to. A nonviolent and peaceful person. I won't beat my girls anymore. Okay, that's all bullshit. So I personally think that none of that matters, okay? But the thing that does matter to me is this. All right. Hold on a second, I gotta find it, or it disappeared on me. Probably disappeared on me. Hold on a second. Really? Where did it go? Okay, hold on. All right. Was his conviction legal? Now, this is probably not a popular opinion, but I happen to agree with his lawyers on this. Now, do I think he's changed in prison and should get out early because of he's got little angel wings now? No, I don't. But I have a problem with his conviction. And this is, let's see what I'm trying to figure out what glasses I need to wear here. Okay, Sean Diddy Combs, conviction of 2 counts of interstate transportation for prostitution, is being appealed, with his legal team arguing the conviction is illegal and seeking an expedited appeal. The core of the appeal is that the prosecution misapplied the Mann Act to consensual sexual acts with no financial motive, a claim the defense states is misuse of a law typically used against pimps who financially benefit. A judge denied his initial question within the conviction, clearing the way for the sentence to be served. But I agree with his attorneys. Now, why do I agree with them? The Mann Act, the basic idea of the Mann Act is that in order to try to stop pimps from pimping out girls, one thing they could use was, if you bring the girls across state lines, we can nail you for it, because you're carrying these women or girls, sometimes just girls, over state lines, and therefore will get you because you're making money. You're their pimps. You're making money off these girls. You're involved in financial transactions. And therefore, so what happens is, forever, pimps have been out there. Now, I live in the Washington, D.C. area. So what happens in our area is that, now, if you're in Texas, in the middle of Texas, the Mann Act is useless, because you got so many girls who can come from hundreds of miles and still in Texas. You can't use it. But in some areas, they use the Mann Act, like my area. We're called we have Washington, D.C., we have Maryland, and we have Virginia. And it's such a short distance from all of those places. A lot of the prostitutes will move from place to place, and the pimps will take them over state lines, because state lines, it's not really much of a state line. I'm in DC within 15 minutes, or 10 minutes. I mean, you just roll in. So what they thought was, if we can use this, we can be able to get these pimps and get these, pimps, we can convict these pimps of prostituting these girls and help get these girls off the street. And it's a very useful technique. They're using it with Diddy. Now, he did bring in prostitutes, male prostitutes from different areas. He flew them in so that they could have sex with his women and whoever else and have these freakouts. He wasn't a pimp. He was just hiring them. He was basically the purchaser. He was the John who hired them to have sex. Now, maybe sometimes he wasn't having sex with them. He's just watching it. But hey, everybody's got their thing. So he wasn't a pimp bringing them in order to sell off the prostitutes to other people. So I agree that the Mann Act was wrongly used in this particular instance. Now, the whole thing was going to be a RICO case. And they brought in his girlfriends and his whatever women to then talk about domestic abuse, which he certainly is a domestic abuser. But that has nothing to do with the case. To talk about how they went to these freakouts, which so what? They went willingly. So all this stuff was bullshit, most of it. In spite of the fact, I think he's a piece of garbage. Okay. I think he's a scumbag. I think he's a creep. I think the women who hooked up with him wanted what he had to offer, which was a music career, money, fancy stuff, all that kind of crap. And they were willing to do whatever it took to keep him. Okay. You did what you wanted to do to get what you wanted. It doesn't make him a nice guy, but it doesn't make you nice women either. And if he's going to fly in prostitutes for you to have sex in front of him, well, you're all just, just kind of scuzzy. But I think they're right. It was a misuse of the Mann Act. If you wanted to get him on a RICO thing, which they failed dismally, yeah. So do I have a problem with him going to prison for hiring prostitutes and bringing them across state lines? Well, I don't have totally much of it. I'm not that totally against it. But then again, are you following the law? Or you just, you're just trying to, slap that guy around a little bit because he's scuzzbag. I mean, which one is it? So I got to take off my glasses so I can read your stuff. All right. Oh, I have no idea what happened with that. That could have been something. He did not profit bringing prostitutes over state lines. Exactly true. Yeah. And this guy it does make him a nice guy, but the difference is, could it be that Diddy didn't profit off it? No, he's just, that's what the defense is saying. He didn't get profit. So that's what the whole Mann Act is about. It's preventing pimps from basically selling women. And so they're wrong for selling women wherever they are, but they're using the state line thing in order to get them. So, but he's not selling them. So, yeah. He was, he has, I think this thing was the sex acts with a minor. That's a different matter. So, it's one of these things where I think they overcharged, and I think they wanted to get him on something they couldn't get him on. So then they brought in all these women to basically just trash him as a human being, which was pretty easy to do, mind you. But our justice system is supposed to be about following the law and then having enough evidence to then convict the person based on the law, not based on the fact you don't like the son of a gun. So nobody wants to talk about that because it makes you very unpopular when you don't want Diddy to go down, So, but I think it's important to say it because it's just should be. Okay, I just want to mention this case. This is a weird case. Hold on a second. Something's in my eye. Okay, this is Britney Gard. Britney Gard. Strange case, and there's been no follow up, which I find always interesting when there's no follow up at all. Britney, where are you, Britney? Hold on a second. Now I need the glass. I can't wait to have everything settled here because this is really a pain in the ass. Britney, where are you? Oh, Britney, where'd you go, Britney? I gotta take it off. I gotta move it. Okay, where is it? Why can't I find Britney? She went missing. No, don't go missing on me. I hate it. Oh, here we go. Sorry. Okay, Britney Gard. It's just a weird case, and I'm like, why is there no follow-up? And it bugs me because if you're going to make a big deal of it to begin with, I think the public then deserves a follow-up. Mom called 911 from the woods. That's mom, Britney. After vanishing for a week following a suspicious house fire. What happened? An Indiana mother who was found alive in the woods called 911 herself after vanishing for a week following a fire at her home. They got a phone call from her, and they helped her find her way out of the wooded area somewhat near her home. Anyway, said that she was checked by Putnam County Emergency Services paramedics for medical evaluations. They found she was okay. Gard was nowhere to be found when authorities responded to an October 1st fire at her home, the sheriff's office previously said in a news release. Initial attempts to make contact with her unsuccessful. In a statement shared early in the week before Gard was confirmed to have been found, they said that the blaze was extinguished with fire damage contained to a portion of the house. The fire location, suspicious in nature. Gard's sister, Stephanie Bowen, said that the family knew something was wrong when Gard didn't show up to her daughter's volleyball game the day she was reported missing. It remains unclear how Gard ended up in the woods or how she managed to survive. No one knows what happened. No one knows how she got there, the family said. But the relatives said, oh my God, this is relief that she's alive and with us. In a later release, the sheriff's office said they were not, quote, looking for any individuals of interest in this missing person investigation of Britney Gard. And there's no current threat to the general public. The case remains under investigation to bring closure to the incident. No further details will be released at this time. Now, my profilers in the house, what do you think? What do you think? Oh, yeah, he's still scum. Oh, absolutely. They should have gotten him from, as far as Diddy goes, she never, as far as I'm trying to remember, she didn't report him for beating the crap out of her in the hotel, which is unfortunate. He should have been nailed for assault. She was with a lover. Interesting thought. She went on an adventure. She went on an adventure. I like it. Very odd. Yes, that is indeed. Sounds like she started the fire and ran. Tell me about the phone. That is the most interesting part. She's been missing a week. She's lost in the woods. And then she calls 911. Help, I don't know where I'm at. What was she doing in the woods? I don't know. But what about the phone? There you go. Where did she charge it? Where did she charge it? That is the whole big issue here. Clearly, if you were lost in the woods for a week, which is unbelievable right there. Now, theoretically, it was like real near her home, so she could have found her way out of those woods, but apparently she couldn't. And could she have lived for a week? Sure, if she had a water source, absolutely she could live for a week. I've done it before. I've been on here before. I did a 3-week water fast, 100% water. You saw me do all my shows. I played pickleball and table tennis. I survived. It helps if you're fat, because then you have that fat to work with. I don't know how fat she was. But anyway, you can last a week as long as you have water. But you can't, your phone won't last a week. You will last a week, your phone won't last a week. So how did she call? And that's, I'm sure, what she's, I don't think she could have been in the woods. Makes no sense. Absolutely. And here's what always annoys me. If you have somebody who commits a crime, which is called arson, then disappears and then lies to the police about her disappearance, which I think she's had to have. I think the public, everybody has a right to know about this. But what happens is there's always this weird sympathy toward women. It's like, oh, she has a mental crisis. So then we're just going to all shove it under the carpet, and then we're going to say she had a mental crisis. And that's that. Well, I'm sorry, but is it psychopathy or is it a mental crisis? I don't know which one. But is it really, I guess, do we all have the right to know? Maybe not. Maybe the people, but the police who's invested time and money into this, and the local citizens have the right to know, because it took up manpower and money. That's always my belief on this. PMS, really severe. Interesting little case. And this was another case that really annoyed the crap out of me. Okay, so this woman, this poor woman, it's just horrifying. She was a theater teacher. Okay, she's a theater teacher, and here she is with her husband back when they married, and the husband got cancer, and they had children, and so she was trying. I can't find the original article I found, but she moved to another location to work for college so that she could earn enough money for her family to survive and for her husband who was going through all the cancer treatment. So she took a room in a woman's house. Now, I've rented rooms in my house before when all the time my kids were growing up. I homeschooled. I rented 2 to 3 rooms in my house to students, and because I needed income to be able to stay home. So I know what it's like to be a landlady. All right. This theater teacher was fatally shot by her landlady, essentially, her roommate, they call it, after she returned from visiting her family in Indiana. According to WTAVM, 31-year-old Erica Anderson, this is Erica, 31-year-old Erica Anderson was fatally shot around midnight on Monday after her roommate mistook her for an intruder. Brian, who ruled the death as accidental, this is the Muskogee County Coroner Buddy Bryan, who I want to punch in the face. He ruled the death as accidental. Okay. Yes, I do believe it was. I take it back. It's confusing. It is accidental, but I think the woman who fired that gun should be charged. And I'll tell you what he said later on, which is why I'm so annoyed with the guy. Brian, who ruled the death as accidental, told the outlet that Anderson's roommate was asleep when she heard someone entering the home. The coroner told WTVM that the roommate had been receiving terroristic threats from her son, who had allegedly threatened bodily harm and to burn down her house. Her house. So she was a landlady. So knowing her son was a psycho and was threatening to burn her house down, she rents a room to this innocent teacher who's trying to earn money to support her family and her husband who's going through cancer treatment. She rents a room. Anderson had been renting a room at the residence and was returning from a trip to see her husband and the 3 children in Indiana at the time of the shooting. After entering the home, the coroner told WTVM that the roommate, that's the landlady, not a roommate. There's a big difference in that because a landlady is in charge of the home, and she is the one who allowed the woman to come live there, and she is the one that knows the circumstances. After entering the home, the coroner told WTVM the landlady, grabbed her pistol and walked out into the hallway where she fired twice. She fired one shot and then fired another and hit her roommate. Her roommate had gone away. I don't know what information there was about the roommate returning. But if you have a son who is about to burn your freaking house down, first of all, you should have rented a room in your house. Secondly, if somebody was in your house and you suddenly got this threat, you should be in contact with her saying, before you enter the house, call me, blah, blah, blah. Otherwise, she never told this woman anything. The woman returns, which is her right to return with a key to go into her room. She walks into the hallway and this woman comes out and shoots her down because she might be her son, might be someone her son. Doesn't look at her. She doesn't. Now, mind you, the woman doesn't hide behind a piece of furniture and wait till she can see who it is she's shooting. She just goes out and shoots whoever the hell walked in the house, knowing full well she had rented a room to a teacher. According to the report, an autopsy will be performed at the state crime lab. Well, she was shot. That's not a big deal. Authorities called the incident a tragic case of mistaken identity. How is it mistaken identity? She didn't even bother to worry about who it was, in spite of the fact she knew it could be the teacher. Now, here's what he said that I just want to punch him in the face for. I would fire him. If I were that county, you should fire this son of a bitch. You have to think about the roommate that shot her. I'm sure she's devastated as anyone would be under the circumstances. No, I'm pretty sure that the husband of the teacher and her 3 children are devastated way far more than this fruitcake who shot down her renter because she thought her son was a psycho. So I just kind of lose it on that one. Let me check your comments. Dick M says, I never buy that blind shooting defense. You never fire shots at nothing. Absolutely not. Absolutely true. And as a person who does own a firearm and from a family, my daughter's a police officer. I'm not going to talk about my sons. I'm not going to say whether they have guns or don't. But when you own a weapon, you are 100% responsible when you pull the trigger, that you pull the trigger only because the rule is this. I took a class from Masad Ayub. Masad Ayub is one of the finest police trainers in the country. I went for a week down in North Carolina, entire week with Masad Ayub. And the one thing he must have pounded into our head over and over again is that the only reason you pull the trigger is because you 100% believe if you do not, you will be killed. If you don't know who you're pulling the trigger on, then you have no way of knowing that you would have been killed, especially when you have a renter who could come home. So you have to have eyes on whoever is coming into your house. For example, here's a simple example. The other day, my daughter called me. She lives next door to me. And she said, could you check on her father-in-law? Because he wasn't responding. And he'd had a recent heart attack. And he was not responding. And she became worried because he had not moved from his room. And she was really, really worried. So I went to his room and I beat on the door and he did not respond. I could hear the TV on, but he did not respond. I beat harder and he did not respond. So I did open up the door and I saw this body underneath a blanket. And I went in and I tapped him on the shoulder to see if he was alive. And he was alive and he flipped over. He was very angry because I freaked the crap out of him because he was sleeping. And then I went like this and he like, who the hell is that? And I said, look, you did not respond. It's been hours and hours and hours. Everybody was worried about you and you did not respond to phone. You did not respond to, never came out of your house for like hours on end. And everybody thought something was wrong. You didn't respond when well, he was angry. Should he have been? I don't think he should have been, but I said, oh, I'm not going to make that mistake again. But anyway, I'm next door in my room. And I've had times when I've had my headset on. And that's one of the silencing ones, So I'm watching a movie or talking to my sis or something. I'm on the headset. I don't hear knocks on the door. Now, our doors are unlocked for the purposes of being able to do work and other reasons we can come and go. And I have had my daughter knock on the door and got no response. She will open the door and come in the house. Now, I cannot just shoot at her because she's in my house. So, if you think your son is about to kill you, you want to put a double lock on your door, and your bedroom door. You want to hide behind your bed. You want to be sure you can identify who broke. If the person kicks the freaking door in, well, first of all, you got to be sure it's not law enforcement because you never responded. You got to make sure you're not killing somebody who's innocent. And in this particular case, it was 100% no reason why she'd assume that when she walked in the hallway, that one figure coming in was going to be a killer. She killed her renter. She took away the mother of 3 children and the wife of a man who is dying of cancer. That woman needs to be in prison. So that's my thought. Yeah. I'm glad he didn't have a gun. Yeah, absolutely. She made the psycho, and this is where the evil lies. Right? She might be psycho herself. How can you not tell the difference? I don't know what the lighting situation was, but if you don't know what the lighting situation is, you have to hide in a location where you can keep yourself in cover, call 911, and make sure that if somebody does come in, you can identify them before you pull the trigger. That's the requirement. And if you're not doing what you need to do, you need to go to prison, not, oh my God, that poor person must feel so bad that she killed her renter. Oh, good God. Not tragic when it's preventable. Outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. I was disgusted. No, I think she literally did just come in and she killed her. I don't think they're arguing. I think I think she probably did kill her exactly the way she said, because she was probably paranoid because she had a psycho son. But when you are a landlady, a landlord, you that's your home. You're the one who is in control of your home, and that's a simple fact. So you don't rent to people if you've got a psycho in the house, or a psycho going to come over and kill you. You don't rent. I say, so appalling. But anyway, that was one that really annoyed me. Let me see what else I have here. It's good, all kinds of good things. I just want to mention this little girl. Her name is Holly. I can't pronounce her last name. Okay, so Holly, this is a Boston case, and I just think it's kind of nice that they're trying to solve what is really a very, very old case. Let me find it. Hold on. Oh, here we go. Okay. Hello. All right. The DA's office asking residents to submit DNA samples to help solve a 1993 murder. Now, this little girl was murdered by whoever they think the guy that left this shirt next to her body. The DNA is from that shirt. They think that they might be able to finally find out who killed this little girl. So it's over 20 years ago. So she was 10 years old when she disappeared after leaving her grandparents' home in Sturbridge to see a litter of puppies at a neighboring house near Allen and Smith Shore Roads around 11:45 a.m. on August 5th, 1993. And after an hour, her father reported her missing, and he later found her sneaker near South Shore Road. They searched for weeks, and then they found her skeletal remains in a wooded area off a Five Ridge Road in a neighboring town of Brimsfield 2 months later. All right. A white tank top with Boston written in pink and purple, hosting its second forensic investigative genetic genealogy event. And they're asking people to provide a cheek swab. DNA collected from crime scene evidence can be compared against publicly available genealogy databases to identify distant relatives of unknown suspects, sometimes reaching fourth, fifth, even sixth cousins. Investigators then use these connections to build family trees, narrow down the possibilities, in some cases identify offenders who eluded justice for decades. The voluntary participants in the DNA collection event will receive their full ancestry and family tree information worth over $700 for free. Now, by the way, they used to be able to access a lot of databases for DNA genealogy, but then that was all shut down. I think only like one allows it now. I can't remember which one. So that was a lot of that was taken away because it was considered, people's privacy issues. So they're asking people, look, it's been 20 some years, and just help us out. It might be your skeezy cousin from 30 years ago, and I think that's really cool that at least that's a possibility. I don't know how much money this is going to cost, where it's going to end up. I assume every one of the family members has already provided the DNA, and it's not any of the family members. But I just think that's a pretty cool effort. That really is neat. Oh, are you saying, okay, you're saying that my Patron Hangout says 116. Yes, obviously I can't see crap. I hit a 1 instead of a 2. But by the time anybody else sees the show who are not here for the live, it'll be 216. Don't worry about it. I can fix it. I can fix it. No, it does say 116, guys. I say I can't see. It's really hard for me to see anything at the moment. It's hard for me to type. It's just, but it's going to only be for a few weeks, and I have to admit that I'm shocked at the amazing work that is being done with cataract surgery. It's crazy good. I mean, it's so quick. It's like super quick. You're out in 15 minutes. I mean, you're like done, and you're like, oh my God, I can see again. It's like crazy. So when I get the right eye done, I should be pretty much 20/20, and then I'll just get my reading glasses, my multifocal for my phone and my iPad, and then have nothing on the top for distance because I'll be 20/20. So I can walk around and do everything without glasses. But when I'm, in the house reading and doing work, I'll put the glasses on. I can walk around with them with their trifocals. So I'm excited. I'm just waiting I'm first I haven't had surgery. I've only had one surgery in my life, which was 40 years ago for tubal pregnancy, emergency. And so I went in to get this done, and I'm like a wreck. And they're like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, I'm not used to getting surgery, and it freaks me out. And I'm like, they're like, are you on any medication? I'm on no medications. I have no issues. Everything's like easy, very easy. They're like, "Why are you worried?" Because I'm not used to people stabbing me in the freaking eye. And so I did actually get laser surgery on the first part to correct an astigmatism. And that was really, they have this thing that put the medication in your arm. They give you an IV thing, and they have like a syringe there with this medicine ready to go. And I'm like, I'm waiting for the happy juice, And they go, "Oh no, we're not going to do that for the laser part." I'm like, "Why not?" They go, "Because we need you to look in exactly the right place." Well, that was quite uncomfortable because they stuck some weird thing, like some kind of like plasticky thing, which holds your eye open, and that was uncomfortable. I mean, but the doc is going like, surgeon's going like, "Don't worry, it's only like for a minute," like, and then you see these bright lights, and then you look in the exact place, and they go, and it's done. But I didn't get the happy juice for that. So then they just roll me over to the surgery room to get the rest of it done. Oh, and by the way, the laser also breaks up the cataract and puts a cut in the eye so you can pull it. Yeah, it's disgusting. Anyway, and so then they roll me into the surgery room, and then they give me the happy juice. I felt absolutely nothing. And some people fall asleep, and some people feel happy. I felt nothing. I'm like, why am I getting this stuff? I mean, it wasn't bad. I mean, the whole surgery itself was very quick, and they had already numbed my eye out, so it wasn't an issue. But I got to watch everything, and I'm like, what was the point of this thing? I was looking forward to it before everything. I was going to be all happy. Yeah. But anyway, the results are amazing. So I am looking forward to Monday. But the other eye, I feel like I'm going to go through that freaking few minutes of misery with the laser thing because they're not going to give me the happy juice. And I don't even know if I want to bother with it because what's the point? Why do the IV thing if I'm not even going to get any effect off of it anyway? But anyway. So nobody recognized a t-shirt. No, I guess not. You would think that would be something that was kind of, you would think somebody would recognize it. Maybe somebody did, but they're not saying anything. Yeah, that can be a problem. The people don't want to talk about it, So where are we at here? Okay, I got a little time. Okay, so I want to talk about this horrible situation. Okay, so this woman in the picture went into a Goodwill store. I think it was Goodwill, and stole a couple knives, and then she went and stabbed this little boy in the parking lot, and killed him. Very weird case. And one of the questions on this case, which people have asked me about, is that, okay, hold on a second. So those are the parents of the little boy. That's the little boy, and that's the woman who killed him. All right. She got convicted. She was sentenced to life for the fatal stabbing of a 3-year-old boy outside a grocery store. Let me get my phone. Try this one now. This is in Cleveland, near Cleveland. A judge sentenced Bronca Ellis to life in prison without parole for the murder of a 3-year-old Julian Woods in a parking lot attack that prosecutors called among the most heartbreaking they've ever seen, which absolutely is true. Prosecutors said Ellis, 34, followed Julian and his mother, Margot Wood, from a Giant Eagle grocery store in North Olmsted on June 8, 2024, before attacking them with knives stolen from a nearby thrift store. Ellis stabbed the toddler twice as he sat in the shopping cart. Julian was pronounced dead at the hospital while his mother suffered a shoulder wound trying to protect him. A jury convicted Ellis 2 weeks ago on 9 counts, including aggravated murder and felonious assault. Though Ellis pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity and has a history of schizophrenia, the jurors rejected the defense. It's interesting. What interests me about this case is basically this. Of course, it's a horrific case, and then that anybody would kill a 3-year-old child. There's only 2 possibilities. That she is schizophrenic and has some delusional thing going on. It was a hate crime, or that it was a hate crime. That she decided she killed this kid because he was of a different race. Because we have had, very types of hate crimes. So I looked into this. I went to her Facebook page, which she did have, and I found some interesting things. Here are some pictures on her Facebook page. Interesting pictures. Some kind of crazy looking crap. She's got some stuff, historical kind of stuff, which is kind of interesting. And then she's got, let's see, some more. Okay, some are just kind of creepy. Dinosaurs returned to Cleveland. She's interested in a lot of historical stuff, but she got a lot of creepy pictures, like this one. That's creepy. And then over here, I looked on her thing she was interested in. Alice Cooper. All right, rock solid. These are rock singers of rock who are white. And then we have the Cleveland Orchestra. I'm not seeing any race issues at all. She's interested in history of the world. She's interested in, I saw Roman history and Greek history, and she says likes rock music. She orchestra. Yeah. I'm not seeing hate crime here at all. But I see a lot of weird stuff all over the place. Weird psychological stuff. And I saw this before I saw the thing that said she had a history of schizophrenia. And I find this interesting because now, again, most schizophrenics do not stab people to death. They do not. I would love to have seen what the jury heard, because, of course, this is a horrific crime. I don't know what the issues are related to why the jury made the decision. But I think I can rule out hate crime. And she seems like something's off. Something's off. So I tend to lean toward she had some kind of psychotic, crazy concept in her head. Does it mean she should not pay the price of killing a little 3-year-old boy and destroying a family? That always becomes a difficult situation when you're talking about people who have severe mental illnesses. And I would love to hear the rest. The story is just not out there. Couldn't find any information on how much we have what history we have of her mental illness. I can't find it, but I find her what she had on her Facebook page led me to believe that she had no real good reason to do this, except that maybe she was psychotic at the moment. I'm not saying she should walk away scot-free. I just don't know why we have a problem with people who have mental illnesses being allowed to run around in society and not take their medication. And if they don't take the medication, they can be really off the wall about things and have delusions that are just crazy stuff, which is why they call them crazy. And who's responsible for that? Because in theory, when a person who is schizophrenic gets help, they theoretically are supposed to take their medication. But because they're schizophrenic, they may think their medication is poisoned. So you have this weird problem of you're asking a person who's mentally ill to make a proper decision on caring for themselves, which they cannot do. We used to have institutions for people like this, but we've let them run onto the streets. And a lot of times the families will call the police and say they're trying to kill me, because they are. And so it's a really interesting situation where, most schizophrenics aren't stabbing people to death. But those who become violent, if they're on the streets, we see this with homeless schizophrenics, become violent on the street and kill people just willy-nilly, and I think we need to examine that again. So I was kind of surprised about I don't know what was ever considered in the court, but I looked at it, and there is a problem recently with hate crimes, just picking a certain whatever race it is and saying they deserve to die. It's a problem in the United States right now, and then also in the UK. But in this case, I didn't see it. Matter of fact, I think she seemed like a pretty person who's appreciated all cultures and races. So, interesting case. I just wish I knew the rest of it. Let me look in. How do you heal the mind? Oh, well, we've been trying for years and we're not doing so well. Anna says mental health is underfunded and not greatly cared for here in the UK either. Yeah. Some crazy people claim to see other people's demons, but not a small child is. But a small child is not unusual, or is usual. I don't know. I wonder if the kid was acting up or crying. She wanted to shut him up. Interesting. Could be. If she followed them, it's not a random act of violence. No, she had intent. There's no question there was intent. She got these knives prior to anything. So that's why originally I wondered whether it was a kind of a hate crime, because she got the knives and then she used to go out and kill this little kid, who was of another race. But when I looked at her Facebook page, I didn't see it, because I have great concern over racial issues. Obviously, look at my kids. Anyway, but I have issues in any direction. Recently, by the way, just something I came across, and it was just incredible to me. There's a guy called White Yardy. White Yardy is a comedian. He's Jamaican, but he's white. Okay. Now, White Yardy, there was a clip from a television show, and he was being interviewed by. It was in the UK because he lives in the UK right now, and there were like 4 people from the UK who had Jamaican. Some of them had Jamaican parents. All right. They were sitting there asking him if he had the right to appropriate Jamaican culture. When did he decide to be a Jamaican? He grew up in Jamaica. His mother did leave Jamaica when he was born outside of Jamaica, only because she had had a pregnancy before then, had a problem with the hospital, lost the baby. So when she was pregnant with him, she left the Jamaica to go to a better hospital outside because of where they were living just wasn't so good. And then she had the baby, everything was okay. She came back to Jamaica. He grew up in Jamaica. The guy grew up 100% in Jamaica every moment of his life, all the way through all his schooling. He's Jamaican through and through. And these people, who are all Brits, by the way, they're British, you know what I mean? They're sitting there. Oh, they're like, oh, and when did you decide to be a Jamaican? He's like, I didn't decide to be a Jamaican. I was Jamaican. He's a Jamaican, for God's sake. Just because his skin is white doesn't make him not a Jamaican. And no Jamaicans have any issue with this, because the Jamaicans attacked the living crap out of this panel. Now, mind you, again, I don't know what stupid panel this was. So people from the UK, yeah, I know you're all not stupid like this, but these 4 people were stupid. And they were just so insulting and so trying to say, oh, you can't be Jamaican because you're white. Guy's Jamaican through and through, true and true. I'll say it in Patron. So there are problems of across everywhere, where there is hate crimes against Black people, there are hate crimes against white people, there are hate crimes against Asian people, South Asian, East Asian, and vice versa. There's just against Muslim, against Hindu, against Sikh, against Christians. I mean, this happens across the world. So whenever you're going to analyze a case, you have to keep in mind this could indeed be a hate crime, or it could not be. Just because it looks like a hate crime doesn't mean it is a hate crime. And this is something that we have to make sure we don't jump to conclusions. A lot of times with mass murder, I see this conclusion all the time, because a person often picks somebody who will get the attention of the public and attention of the media, most of the media. And they'll go, oh my God, this person committed this crime because they hated whatever. And it turns out that they really didn't have that issue at all. But hey, they chose those group of people because they make a big splash in the media. So I'm always very cautious, regardless of what the situation is, to look at this and say, is this evident that this is a specific hate crime? Or is this just something completely, something different? And in this particular instance, I didn't see any evidence in this woman's Facebook page that she had any issue that was racial hatred. And why she picked this little boy to stab to death, I do not know. Now, theoretically, even though it wasn't on her Facebook page, theoretically, could she have been heard a bunch of stuff in the recent news media and all that stuff that made her develop a kind of a hatred? Is it possible? Sure it is. That's what I'm saying. I'd like to have been I would like to have heard more about the story. Now, obviously, my heart is with the family and the loss of their child, and not on a woman that goes and stabs him on the street. I mean, it's horrifying. So does this woman need to be put away? 100%. But I'm just curious about the story behind it. I'm curious about the motive behind it. And sometimes we'll never know the motive, and therefore you just have to sentence people because, after all, you murdered a child. So maybe you do need to be in prison the rest of your life. But I just think it's interesting because I was surprised when they said schizophrenia, because I was seeing schizophrenia in her Facebook page. So interesting. But one of the problems I have as far as political stuff goes, I try to veer away from political commentary on this channel as much as I can, because people become so enraged and so incensed that it turns into a freaking nightmare. And I am a person who is from a very multicultural family, a multiracial family. I see things from all sides, shall we say, and from different cultures, subcultures. So I see a lot. I tend to be very, I don't know, I gotta say rational in these things. I can have my own political opinions, but I'm also understanding of everybody else's, where they're coming from. But it gets so nasty these days that because this is a crime channel, profiling channel, I veer away from it as much as possible, except to help people understand that when you're going to analyze something, you have to pay attention to understanding culture and subculture. For example, with the White Yardie issue, he was 100% Jamaican and 100% of Jamaican culture. Now, you can also be of a subculture in a country. So let's say you're living in the UK. You're British, for sure. But there are subcultures within that. If you go to Brixton, for example, which is a heavily Jamaican subculture, and you live within that subculture, you're going to be British, but you might have a subculture of a Jamaica thing going on. You're not Jamaican, but you have a subculture of that. So, and if you're going to look at crimes, you have to understand the different cultures and the subcultures, because every one of them can influence, how you analyze a crime. That's why I bring it up. So, but for example, but I do veer away from as much politics as I can on this channel, because it just turns so incredibly nasty. So let me see. I wanted to talk about this particular woman. This is a UK case. Sorry, I gotta try to read here, because of course I can't, because this is Katie on the left, and okay, she dated this guy on the right, Lynch. And Lynch was a psychopath. I will say the P word on you. This guy's a major psychopath. Okay, major psychopath. And unfortunately, I don't know how she even exactly hooked up with him. But let me go back and find Katie's story. Katie's story is just incredible. Horrifying story. So what happened with Katie? She was blinded in one eye, was left with burns on her skin, so severe they had to cut away the skin completely. She had 250 grueling operations. And this is her today. She's really stood up for people who have had acid attacks. And she had an acid attack. And acid attacks are more common in certain countries. I'm not going to go into the countries because we're going to go into politics again. But they're definitely more common in certain countries and becoming more common in some countries. Okay. But one of the weird things about acid attack, that acid is so available. You don't have to buy a gun. You don't have to just throw the crap in somebody's face. And not only, it doesn't kill them, but it mutilates them. It causes them extraordinary pain, possible blindness. If it's a beautiful, attractive woman, it ruins her beauty. And then they go through massive amounts of operations and misery. So what a absolutely sadistic thing it is to throw acid in somebody's face. And so she dated this character. I don't know where she found him at, but anyway, let's see if I can find that information. All right. Let's see. All right. Lynch, that's the guy that he ordered the crime. He actually didn't do it himself. He was jailed for life with a minimum of 16 years after being convicted of raping her and telling this other guy to carry out this Silvestri guy. He was actually the guy that actually threw the acid in her face. Okay. So essentially they went on a date and he became obsessed with her. And then she tried to break it off, and he raped her and stabbed her arms and legs. And then he told, if you tell anybody, I'll kill you, basically. And she didn't tell anybody. She should have gone. I just want to say this to women. This is the basic reason I want to point this out. This guy is a psychopath who did this to you. You should have gone straight to the police. Will you be scared? Absolutely. Should you have done it? Absolutely. Because you didn't go to the police, you allowed the psychopath to stay out there to hurt other people. That's why I say all this to all women who've been raped by somebody. Even if you can't prove it, at least their name's on record, so that if other women get raped or attacked by this person, then the second time it comes in, they're going, whoa, somebody complained about him a year ago. So women, please protect each other, protect other women. If somebody does this horrific kind of thing to you, do not just go home and hide in fear. I know you're scared to death. I mean, I'm not saying I don't understand where she's coming from, but because you didn't go to the police, that didn't stop him. And so what happened after that? He kept texting her, and then she made the second mistake. I've told people over and over, never do this. He said, if you meet me, and I can have closure. I won't bother you again. That is the number one thing somebody tells you when they're about to kill you. Come and meet me one more time, and then I'll strangle you to death and I'll have closure. So she goes to meet this guy, and he sends this guy over to throw acid in her face, which he did. Never, ever, women. If somebody's a psychopath and has already harmed you and threatened you and you're scared shitless of him, never, ever beat him again. Never. And that's just warning. Just because I just see women do this over and over again. And if she hadn't gone there, maybe she wouldn't. Now, I'm not saying this guy couldn't have tracked her down and done her in anyway. No, I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying I don't understand her fear and why she didn't report him. But please, women, report right away, because not reporting doesn't save you either, as she found out. And the most horrific way. And she's done a lot of wonderful good since then. So I commend her on everything she's done to bring awareness to the public. But here's one of the crazy things about this. So anyway, Lynch he was jailed for life with a minimum term of 16 years after being convicted of raping Piper and telling Silvestri to carry out the acid attack. That same year, Silvestri was handed a life sentence with a minimum term of 6 years. 6 years. And was released on license in 2018. In 2022, he was recalled to prison for breaching the conditions of his license with police issuing an arrest warrant after it was believed he left the UK. I'm sorry, but throwing acid in somebody's face should get you a life sentence without parole. Without parole. The fact that you would do this, we're not talking about you slapped somebody in the face. We're not talking about you punched them once. Throwing acid in somebody's face and causing them to have 250, blinding them and causing them 250 operations, you should be in prison for life, if not executed. Absolutely disgusting. So anyway, one of them is already out. He threw the acid in her face. It's already running around. Now, in his bid for freedom, he will remain in prison for another 2 years. Seriously? He's scheduled to take his The parole is scheduled to take place in 2024, which has already gone by. It must be an old one. And they're going to have to represent to the public, if released, whether his risk is manageable. No, the dude's a vicious, raping, psychopathic, acid-throwing, vicious killer. Put him away for life. The fact that you would even consider letting him out is disgusting. Unbelievable. But let's take a look at this other woman. Okay, so this woman, in the same light, I can't pronounce her name. She's obviously Chinese. Hengyi Huang, 36 years old, has been charged with allegedly assaulting another woman with a chemical. Yeah, she threw chemical in this woman's face. And listen to this one. Okay, so unbelievable. This is an Australian case. Australia, you're being as foolish as the UK and the US. Anyway, bizarre new details emerge about a woman accused of stalking a complete stranger, as she walked through a quiet suburb before an unspeakable, unprovoked attack. She threw a corrosive substance in a woman's face. A woman has been ordered out of her home. She is accused of throwing an acid-like substance in the face of a random stranger in an unprovoked street attack. She attacked Angela Ma, 27, after stalking for almost an hour. She walked through a suburb of Sydney's northwest about 6:25 p.m. Ms. Ma was at the intersection of Norfolk Road and something else I can't pronounce in North Epping, where she was allegedly approached by Huang. Huang allegedly splashed her with a cup filled with unknown corrosive liquid, striking her face, clothes, and headphones. Then she fled the scene, and Ms. Ma called for emergency services. She was treated for chemical burns. After 4 months of investigation, Huang was arrested at her home and charged with 3 offenses: stalking, intimidating, assault, and using an offensive weapon. The Daily Mail can reveal, it's the Daily Mail. See, I tell you, the Daily Mail has better stuff than anybody else. Can reveal that the police took out an AVO against Huang on behalf of her male household mate around the time of her arrest. So, I mean, other people are scared of her too. All right. She no longer lives at the home as a result. Oh, you think? Okay. A second AVO was also taken out around the same time for protection of Ms. Ma. Now, she refuses to answer questions about the case. They allege that her blah, 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 blah. Okay, let's see. They were looking for an Asian woman wearing a light-colored cap, a white face mask, a black jumper, and long gray pants. But then they released a CCTV image of her in this orange coat. If you're going to throw acid in somebody's face, do not wear an orange coat. Just letting you know. All right. She was arrested later that day and then released on bail. Now, Ms. Ma was hospitalized. While her vision remains intact, relatives say she continues to experience eye problems and requires drops to relieve dryness. Under her bail conditions, Huang must report to police 3 times a week and is banned from entering any international airport and other points of departure from Australia. She must also not contact, assault, or threaten, stalk or harass, or intimidate Ms. Ma or her former housemate or anyone they might have a domestic relationship with. She's also forbidden from intentionally or recklessly destroying any property. She's forbidden from destroying property. I thought everybody was forbidden from doing that, not just her. I mean, that's called breaking the law. Or harming any animals. Oh, because it's okay for other people to harm animals, but she's got an order that says you shouldn't harm animals. She's out on bail. A woman comes up to a complete stranger, throws acid in her face or acid-like substance, and she's out on bail. What the hell's wrong with you people? Whoever's in charge of things, those people. What's wrong with you? The woman, this piece of crap here, he should never, ever see the light of day. And neither should his little buddy who threw the acid in her face. This woman should never be out on bail. What the heck is wrong with you? If someone is willing to throw acid in somebody's face, you cannot trust them in any way, shape, or form because they are psychopaths. There's no other explanation for it. They're a violent, dangerous psychopath, but you let them out on bail and say, don't do bad things. Jesus, unbelievable. Yeah, that's it. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Crazy. It's not being seen as a serious weapon. You know, some of the people who've had acid thrown in their face wish they were just shot. They would go with that. Compare the amount of absolute agony that they've gone through. And a lot of them have been so disfigured that they can never have a normal life again, especially if you're in a country where you can't get those 250 surgeries. Can't imagine. She looks pretty decent today. I mean, she's married, has kids. She looks pretty good. But there are women in many countries, when acid is thrown in their face, they're so disfigured that they can never work, get married. They have horrific lives. Acid is one of the nastiest weapons out there, in my opinion. It's horrific. Jesus. Well, I'm trying to go back up here so I can see it. That is true. I want to point that out. Dogs discussion, you're correct about that. Sometimes medication does make people worse. It's one of these tricky things when people are put on medication that becomes a whole nother issue. It indeed does. And this is very true about the monitoring of all medication. I'm one of these people that strongly believes if you're ever put on any kind of psychiatric medication, you ought to be under care, continuous care of a psychiatrist. You shouldn't just get whatever it is, antidepressants, whatever, from a doctor who just hands them to you and then tells you off you go. Because if you need those things, either you have a problem that needs to be worked out and you need help solving the problem that the medication may temporarily help you not be bothered by as much, but you're not solving the problem that's causing you to need the medication, or you have some true something wrong in the brain that really needs to be monitored like crazy. So either way, if anybody gives anybody drugs and doesn't monitor them on a regular basis, and I mean regular by at least once or twice a week, I think, or by being hospitalized, I think it's outrageous. I think it's just, I'm a problem with that. Caitlin says, terrible. I've seen a couple Australian crimes involving disfigurement, but they were by fire. There's a number of, and Amanda says, I'm one of those. Oh, sorry to hear that. It's egregious. Acid should be illegal to buy. Who needs acid for anything normal? I don't really know. I mean, there's a ton of different things you can throw in people's faces if you come right down to it. There's a lot of ways of harming people. You can throw gasoline in somebody's face and then light them up. You know what I mean? And that's the problem. Weapons can be guns, but they can be knives. They can be fists. They can be accelerants. They can be all kinds of things. It's the person behind it who does this kind of incredibly horrible thing. If they're out there and we're not paying attention to them being out there, we're not doing anything about it or letting them out on bail. We got a lot of work to do. Let's put it that way. I just thought those two cases were quite fascinating and horrifying at the same time. And let's see. What did I want to put? Oh, I had this question I want to answer before I end this today. I'm going to end today. All right. Hugh wrote me this question. It's not specific to any one case, but I'd be interested to hear your take on the women enamored with killers. Are those, quote, parentheses, mostly men entitled to steamy letters with racy pics, or should society protect these damaged women from themselves? I thought it was an interesting question because serial killers, both male and female, get fans. And because the stupidity of our system allows them to have an interaction with the public, which they should never allow, in my opinion. My opinion is they should only have access maybe to their family and to a person of the clergy. Other than that, they should have zero interaction with the public. But I've told you before, there's tons of prison dating sites, even people on death row dating sites. And these guys and women, if you go to them, just go to them, check them out yourself. It's easy to do. Just go prison dating site. And you will see, you can pick out male or female. And they are, if you go to Match.com, you won't find anybody nearly as attractive and interesting as you will on the prison dating sites, because they're psychopaths. So they're really good at presenting themselves. So they stand in front, they're allowed to stand in front of a picture, let's say backgrounds, and they're standing in front of like an ocean or, a beach or something. And they go, they look so good. And then they tell you the story. They say, no, I'm in prison, but I know I've done wrong, and that's why I'm here, and I'm going to do my time. But I've been reading. I love to read. I love to read good books, and I'm studying for my bachelor's degree, and I love to do art. And when I'm out, I love to walk on the beach. And I like to have a partner who I can sit and talk to for hours around the campfire. That's so much more attractive than a guy leaning on his car going, I'd like you to be open-minded about sex. Which one do you want? So I in my classes that I taught when I was in college, I said, you got to go there and pick out yourself a female or a male, a few of them, and tell me about your date. And people were surprised at how attractive they were. So, and women and men, so the answer to that is both women and men get involved, but more women than men, absolutely way more women than men. Women who are lonely, women who want some excitement in their lives, they want a relationship that they can't get on the outside, and they want somebody special, which doesn't include the guy that works as PetSmart, because he's not special. He makes them feel average or less than average. They want somebody cool, especially if they can get a serial killer or something. Then that person comes writing back and forth. They become special through the fact that, oh my God, the serial killer. I mean, I know he did bad things, but he's not all bad. I'm seeing the good in him, blah, blah, blah. And he's pushing it. And then she starts either send some money, whatever. Some of them get married in prison. They actually are allowed to have conjugal rights, and they will get married to some stupid person outside who will think that they're not just totally a psychopath. They'll have sex with them and even get pregnant by them. And then their poor child gets to be born the child of a serial killer. It's sick. Now, the fact that our government, our prison system, would allow that a person who is a murderous human being to have contact with these persons of the public who obviously have issues, emotional issues, mental issues, whatever their issues are, that they would allow them to manipulate from inside the prison, people outside the prison, and then impregnate them so that their children can grow up with a killer parent. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. And that they would promote this and allow this, I find highly offensive. So I think we need to shut down 100% of that garbage. If you're in prison, you stay in prison, you stay away from the public, and you only communicate with your family and with the clergy. And when you do your time, that's when you get to come out and then reintegrate with the public. And if you never get out, you never get to reintegrate with the public. I don't want to hear from you. I don't want you to influence the public. And I find it appalling that a lot of times they're turned into celebrities in prison through the media, through the documentaries, through books, through whatever, because somebody wants to, because they think they're cool because they killed somebody. That's something none of us have done, right? They killed somebody, and they're in this prison system. And then the Innocence Project will say they're innocent or whatever. We make them celebrities. And because they're celebrities, people from the outside, male and female, hooking up with them makes them a celebrity too. And for a person whose life is kind of a drab, shall we say, that's a major incentive. Absolute major incentive. So that's my answer to that. Oh, that's true too. A very good point, TCAM. Many women think they can change a man. They want to do social work. Sometimes that's very true. Anna says, I don't understand why a person doesn't draw a line with offenders unless they aren't healthy-minded. They're not healthy-minded. They got issues. Obviously, they have issues. If somebody's healthy, you don't go you don't hook up with offenders. You don't start dating a guy in prison. Even if you can't get a date on the outside, you're like, okay, even now, I'm still not going to date a guy in prison. And I'm telling you, psychopaths can be very, very good at romancing. They can. They can do a good job. And also the other thing is, because of the distancing, by the way, sometimes the good part is you can have a romance with somebody you never have to actually be with. So, and what they do is I try to soak you for money and cigarettes and other things. And they try to take advantage of you in some way. And maybe they're just bored, and maybe whatever. And maybe they do, I don't know. It depends on what they can get away with. But a lot of times it's like you can have a romance and not actually ever have to fear having to actually be with that person physically. And I mean, not just because he's an offender, but be with any person physically. That's why people like to have romances over the internet in general, because it's like, oh, I talked to this guy and he really likes me. And you can have these wonderful conversations, but you don't have to sit there across from them having coffee going, God, the guy's a jerk. You don't have to decide if you're going to mess up your life to hang around this person. You're not going to have sex with this person. So if you're online, you can have it's a fantasy life. But first of all, I don't think the person in prison who's there for murdering people deserves a fantasy life. I just don't. I mean, we can't stop him from fantasizing in his own little head. At night in the dark, he can do whatever he wants in his own little head. But I don't think we should provide him with fantasy material. So, oh yeah, there was that one. Yes, there was a woman who was killed. Yeah. Oh, darn. I really have. Oh, yeah. I don't know if he's in a state where you get married when you're in prison. What a creepy dude. What a creepy dude. Really. They shouldn't get fan mail, says Maria. Shouldn't get fan mail and be allowed to date if they're serious offenders. Absolutely not. The problem, I don't understand people. There's a thing called, what is a line? Over here is legal and over here is illegal. Crossing the line is a choice. If you cross the line, you choose to cross the line and commit illegal acts, and I'm a good portion of the time, they hurt people. Most of the time, they hurt people in one way or the other. People try to say, oh, there was a minor thing, I didn't hurt anybody. Usually it hurts somebody. It hurts your community. It hurts your family. If you're taking drugs, it can hurt Mexico because you're doing drugs and that's giving the cartel customers, so the cartel then destroys half of Mexico. You breaking the law hurts people. You have zero reason to break the law. From almost rare circumstances, maybe you could come up with one. But you don't need to break the law. And when you break the law, you do it on purpose. You do it for your own selfish reasons, and you hurt people. And if you do that, you should go to jail or to prison, do your damn time, learn a lesson, and not make it other people's problem. I always told my kids, and they told them when they were kids, if you break the law, I'm not bailing you out. I'm not hiring you a lawyer. Now, I said, if you got arrested innocently, if there's truly something freaky that happened and you were arrested and you were innocent, I absolutely knew you were innocent, of course I'd be behind you 100%. But you go out there and you carjack somebody, don't look at me. I'm not bailing you out, I'm not getting a lawyer, and I'm not visiting you in prison. I'm not going to humiliate myself to go visit you in prison when you'd have the decency to treat your family and the community well. We don't have to come and then make you happy, make you feel better. No, when you get out of prison and you get yourself situated and you start acting like a decent citizen, you pay back what you owe to society. If you can do that, maybe you can come around there. That's what I told my kids. They were like, gee, Mom, thanks. I told them that because I believe that 100%. Crossing the line morally, as in it goes against the fabric of your being. Well, it doesn't. It's just It's usually, rarely is it anything that you can say. It doesn't hurt somebody. I've always wondered if there's anything in our DNA that could make one more likely to have a psychopathy, become a psychopath. That's the old argument forever, Liz. Is it nature or nurture? I think it's both. I think that we come into life with a personality. I don't think we're born a blank slate, but I also think we come out of the personality and then we interact with whomever is around, our parents, our community, whatever. And I have no answer to that in the long run, or why some people manage to come out. The old story where they got two brothers, one turns into a priest, and the other one's a killer, that kind of thing. I don't have good answers on that. I can honestly say that for the most part, there's something amiss with the personality and the family, and that family circumstances that a serial killer, for example, comes out. It's rarely from a really healthy family. Although there have been some rare circumstances which turn out to be very unpleasant. There was an issue with a high level of psychopathy with Russian orphans, where these American people would want a child so badly, and they would adopt an orphan from Russia. But the orphan was in this horrific situation where they were basically abandoned and even in an institution, just not touched, not cared for, not loved, not held. They were given a bottle, but that was about it. And they had attachment disorder like you wouldn't believe. And then they'd show up, but they would be lied to. The family would be lied to. Oh, the kids were just a wonderful kid. And then the kid would arrive, and they're like, they're trying to kill the dog. They're trying to kill the baby. It's like, what do we do? And so some of these parents actually returned the kids, and they got really, how could you return your child that you adopted? What a terrible thing. Well, it's because they were lied to, and they ended up with a psychopathic kid who was dangerous to everybody. So it's a horrible situation, So a child who is essentially doesn't get what they need as a baby, doesn't get the love and care and kindness, and doesn't feel protected. If they grow up and they have some of that personality that doesn't handle that stuff well, at a certain point they grow up and they say, screw it. You all screwed me. I'm going to screw you. I'm going to get what I can get. I don't like, you keep telling me these are the rules of the game, and then you stab me in the back. So I'm just going to make my own rules. I'll stab you in the back. And there you have a psychopath. So, yeah. They are not different. They are not different. There's not one shred of proof that they're different. And that's a fallacy that's been rolling around on the internet. No proof at all. So, yeah. They have studied all kinds of different things, and there's never been any kind of good proof that the brains are actually different. Okay, now, I think it is a combo of of nurture and nature put together, and what is absolutely true, in my opinion, is that a child needs a decent family. A child needs to be born into a place that people care about it. And the more we have families that are not families, more we have children that are born to circumstances in the middle of wars, in the middle of horrendous circumstances where the families are not complete families, where you all know the many different problems that can occur. As long as that's going on, the rate of psychopathy increases. And the one thing we can do is honor the concept that before we have a child or bring a child into our home, we have to have a thing called a family. We have to be stable. We have to be able to raise the child. And unfortunately, I say in certain circumstances where, like for example, El Salvador went through this horrific period of war, which just decimated families. And the psychopathy rate increased dramatically, which is where MS-13 comes out of. I mean, they ended up developing in Los Angeles, but because of that mess, there were generations of young people that weren't exactly stable. Now, luckily, the country has really, it's kind of a renaissance in the country right now. And the country has become stable, and the hope is that, and I know a lot of El Salvadorians, and the Salvadorians will tell me, I got to come to El Salvador now because it's so much, the things have changed so much. And I wish the best for them in that because I want the next generation of children to grow up with safety and stability, and then we'll have less psychopaths. So that's a good point. Children are like sponges. If not exposed to love, they cannot understand love. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to stop there because we're at the 2-hour point, and whatever I didn't get to today, I'll get to next time, and hopefully won't have any weird technical issues. And okay, so the show, the case show will be on Saturday. I don't know what it is going to be yet. I have a couple more weeks where it's going to be on Saturday and not Sunday. Well, it was Sunday last time, but because nobody showed up on Saturday because of the messaging problem. But I have a Sundays are unavailable for a few weeks. So therefore, I'm moving it to Saturday for a few weeks. And then I'll be back to Sunday. And so Saturday, I'll be here trying to see whatever I'm talking about. And so I haven't figured it out yet exactly. You still have time to try to influence me about what I'm going to talk about on Saturday. But I will get out the emails the messages as soon as I figure it out. Might be sometime tomorrow. And then I'll get my surgery on Monday, and I'll be back again on Thursday. That'll be at 3 p.m. on Thursday for the one that UK people are awake and Europe is awake. And I will have 2 eyes that see the same, but I still have to use like really bad, cheap glasses, which are not correct to see anything. And then in another week or so, I'll maybe get decent glasses. And then you'll always see me in glasses after that, because obviously, since I'm going to be 20/20 distance, I have to use reading glasses again. So I'll be back to wearing glasses. I kind of enjoyed not wearing glasses for shows, but I prefer in the long run to be able to see everything around me clearly and wear reading glasses. So that's my choice. But anyway, thank you guys for being here, and cross fingers. Let me know if you're getting, okay, the next time I send out the email, which should be sometime tomorrow, I'll figure out what I'm going to talk about, which show I'm going to do. Let me know if you're getting a double on the emails, because that was the issue before, and I don't want it to become another issue again. So let me know. So anyway, thank you guys for being here, and thank you for putting up with a few minutes of bizarre things that were happening. I tell you. But anyway, okay, I'm trying to see the things to be able to shut the thing off now. It's really fun. The show must go on, as I say. With my one eye. Where am I looking at? Oh yeah, where am I at? Oh yeah, here. I see it now. Okay, bye everybody.